blessing for a new house of the church in Ireland. For centuries, Ireland has sent her young missionaries out to bring light to the dark lands of the world. Today, Cardinal MacRory blesses the foundations of the new College of the Maynooth Missions to China, and in a speech afterwards, he speaks of the future. Year after year, from this college, bands of young Irish students will go forth to extend the boundaries of the church, to revive by their efforts the glories of Ireland's golden age.
The island of Jeju lies in the China Sea, about 70 miles to the south of the mainland of Korea. Its 120 miles of coastline are dotted with little harbours, and one of the busiest of these is the port of Halim on the northern side of the island. What is less widely known is that the Hallam pig, and indeed the whole Hallam bacon industry, is the brainchild of a rather unusual Irishman. He's Father P.J. McGlinchey, a Columban missionary who came to Hallam to preach the gospel and who stayed on to do a lot of other things as well.
The parish started right here on this pier. We had refugee sisters came here during the war, and we got a group of people who started teaching them doctrine here.
The first Korean Christians had to suffer for their faith. Wave after wave of persecution struck the infant church, killing priests, destroying churches, scattering the little groups of believers. But the faith survived, and Christianity in Korea today is stronger and more widespread than ever before. There's a Korean cardinal, and the majority of the bishops and priests and nuns are native-born Koreans also. It's only in remoter areas like Jeju that the presence of European missionaries is still essential for the time being, at least until the local congregations can produce enough priests for their needs.
Well, as you can see, it's a good sheep country. If this were New Zealand, a New Zealand farmer would have sheep stuck like flies on every hill here, and he'd be making money from this land, which is idle in Jeju. The Korean farmer is missing an awful lot. So we introduced sheep to try and help him to get more money for his family. Well, I know many people who could do the job much better than I could, who are technically trained for it. But why am I doing this sort of thing here in this particular spot? I would say that it's because as a foreign missionary sent here to preach Christianity, I'm bound to get the people to love one another, and therefore I have to prove that I have love for them myself. And I do try and help them, provide a service which they think, which is very badly needed themselves.
그것이 그 사람 사랑하는 거지. 자기 자신 일어서서 말이요. 그 남에 대해서.
The message is simple but effective, and it's all the more effective because they know that the priest believes it himself and puts it into practice every minute of his life.
아주 가난한 집이고 약살 돈 없고 그래서 자기한테 그 사람 사랑하는 거지.
It was at this time that the congregation of the Columban Fathers arrived in Peru after having been persecuted and finally expelled from China during the revolution of Mao Zedong. Parallel to this crisis came the invitation of Pope Pius XII, appealing for priests to be sent to Latin America. In this way, the Missionary Society of St. Columban began to focus on South America. While one window had been shut, another opened. In 1951, the Superior General assigned 2 Columban priests to make an exploratory journey to Latin America, with a view to designating one or more possible Columban commitments in that continent. Fathers Fergus Murphy and James Loughran, both veterans of China, first visited Colombia and Ecuador, and then arrived in Lima on the 7th of February 1952.
Father examines a site in Tokyo where today a church is being built that will be staffed by Columban priests. A large number of Columban missionaries have already arrived in Japan. Here we see two of them watching the construction of a Quonset hut where they will live during the time they study the difficult Japanese language. Building material is scarce and permission must be obtained both from the Allied and Japanese authorities before any work can begin. The young missionaries find that learning Japanese is about as hard a job as they ever attempted. Their teacher is a Japanese woman who speaks English fairly well. She is a convert to Catholicism. In her zeal, she has offered her services to teach the young priests her native tongue.
Burma is not easy to locate because it is almost lost among its more powerful neighbors. For instance, just west of Burma is India, with its population of 400 million people. North of it is China, with 500 million people. The Columban Mission District is in the very northern portion of the country, just beyond the Burma Road. The Mission District is just about 500 miles up the Irrawaddy River from Rangoon, the port of entry. The Columban Mission District not easy to reach. Usually the missionary will travel on the waters of the great Irrawaddy River, where he sees many strange and colorful boats. Today there is a fine series of mission churches over this whole area, made possible by the generous help of people at home. At the Michina Mission we meet Father John Howe, another Columban priest. The people are extremely fond of him and appreciate the fact that he has left home to teach them about Christ and the true church. The missionary makes periodic trips to small out-missions far off the beaten track. Here we see Father Lawrence McMahon in his traveling clothes, preparing for the last stage of his journey to a distant village. Father Sullivan and some young boys and girls help him move the supplies from the jeep and place them in baskets. After the long journey through the jungle, Father has reached the Columban Chapel, where he will stay and administer the sacraments to the people. There will be instructions, baptisms, first communions, and weddings. All over Burma, the young people like to talk to the missionary and learn about the land he left in order to bring them the message of God's love. Father Fitzpatrick in a neighboring mission is seen with a young couple who have just been married. The bride wears her dowry around her neck, a valuable ornament of silver artistically made.
Columban fathers first came to the Philippines in 1929 at the request of the Archbishop of Manila, who wrote, "I have 50 parishes without a priest. It would be difficult not to answer such an appeal." Upon arriving in Manila, the young missionary is amazed by the sight of ruins. Even now, several years after the close of World War II, these ruins are still evident, twisted, torn testimonials of the horror of war. Many of the churches were demolished and public buildings destroyed, with thousands of people killed.
The school in Malati was virtually a hospital, but the priests were all taken out and they were killed. They were extraordinary men. I suppose the best known one would be Father Heenahan, who wrote a lot of deep spirituality. Father Patrick Kelly, I've met many people in Manila who knew him intimately. He was very, very popular with the people, but all of them were deeply involved in the lives of the people, and they were all taken out and killed.
Rufus made a fantastic contribution to mission in the Philippines and will be remembered by all as one of the pioneers in Christian-Muslim relations. A difficult task because for about 400 years there has been animosity, misunderstanding and conflict between Christians and Muslims.
I will never believe that his death was in vain, because the bringing together of groups that had for hundreds of years been so estranged are now one grieving community in Malabang, Balabagan. Just one massive expression of sorrow, you know, for someone that had touched their lives in a way that was never done before, and perhaps will never be again. I mean, I just cannot think of anybody who could fit into his shoes. Yeah, he was just so special for me, and obviously for so many, many others.
People ask me, you know, why do you stay there? I mean, it's hard at times. It is hard, but, you know, God is one. And whether, you know, you are a Christian or a Muslim or a Lumad or a Hindu or whatever, He is the one who has made us all. And He wants us, as our loving Father, that we love one another. That's the primary thing for me. God is one, and God has made us all.